Well, what can I say? Trump is firing on every possible cylinder. The mainstream media doesn't have a clue. They got nothing on him, and the world is starting to react. This is the Trump effect. Stay tuned.
100 protests that took place this weekend protesting the actions of the Trump administration. I mean, this is me showing you 20 of them all at once. I could show you 20 at once for this entire hour, and we still wouldn't get through all of them. If you follow me on Blue Sky, I posted footage from hundreds of different protests that all took place this weekend on Saturday. But just looking at this 20, let me tell you what you're looking at here. Starting at the top, going left to right, and then top to bottom. Upper left-hand corner, that's Atlanta, Georgia. Police estimated at least 20,000 people turned out in Atlanta, Georgia. Los Angeles, where the LA Times said the number was easily in the tens of thousands. The crowd may have reached 100,000 in Los Angeles alone. Another huge one in Seattle. Minimum estimates there, maybe 14,000 people. But just keep going. Huntsville, Alabama, Portland, Oregon, Davenport, Iowa, Charlotte, North Carolina, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Lansing, Michigan, Palm Beach, Florida, Phoenix, Arizona had a huge one. Providence, Rhode Island, Salt Lake City, Utah was huge. Austin, Texas, Buffalo, New York, Columbia, South Carolina, Indianapolis, Indiana was massive. Sacramento, California, another huge one. Detroit, Michigan, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I mean, that's 20 of, again, more than 14.
Well, howdy, folks. Daveman here again, Rollman Revolution. Now, there are several things that I would like to discuss in this video, but I want to go back just a little bit over the past few weeks, because this past weekend was something that kind of shocked me in a sense. I went to these hands-off protests. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, over this past weekend, there was this supposed, well, there were a bunch of protests through the entire United States. Rachel Maddow couldn't stop salivating all weekend long into the early part of this week, showing you the 20 box on her screen. All of the different protests all over the United States. People are growing in numbers, she's telling everybody. But what she didn't tell you, if you went to those protests and you are a Trump supporter, if you went down to those locations and started talking to some of the people that were holding those signs, and you ask them, hey, what do you mean Trump is a fascist? You ask them a question. Majority, I discovered. And I went to 3 of these locations in the Tampa Bay area where I live, and I was shocked. Shocked. And when I say shocked, majority, and I say majority, 95%, 97% of the people that were asked, what are you doing here? What is this all about? I went there playing ignorant, not to start trouble, just to find out where people are, what they're thinking. Majority of those people that I asked questions to couldn't articulate an answer. They couldn't tell me specifically what their grievance was, why they say Trump is a fascist, why they say Elon Musk is this or Trump is that, or why they're complaining. Most of them just didn't know. And the question I have for anybody out there, if you're going to a protest, first off, why would anybody go to a protest that they knew nothing about, stand out there for hours at a time, holding a sign and chanting up nonsense, when you have absolutely no care in the world as to what is actually going on there? Now, you may not like Trump or you may disagree with something, but unless you really know what the hell you're doing at a protest, why would anybody go to a protest if they really didn't feel it deep down in their soul as to why they're there? Well, I'll tell you why. What I discovered and what I believe my gut is telling me is that majority of those people were either pulled to show up or were paid to show up. Now, I can't prove that, but just based upon using logic and deductive reasoning, most of those people they just look like they were out of place. I mean, if you gave me a sign right now, if you gave me a sign and told me to go stand across the street and say, yeah, I need for you to go over there, Dave, and protest that, The LA Dodgers are better than the New York Mets. And I need you to go, first off, the problem with it is I don't know anything about baseball. I don't know anything about sports. So to stand over off the side of the road and protest something that I know nothing about is just completely and utterly silly and stupid. But what I've started to discover, and I'm sure you have as well, that when Trump went back into office, the effect that Trump has, and that's why I call it the Trump effect, is making so many people, especially those within the mainstream, lose their mind entirely. Now, I'm not a person who gloats, and I'm not a person who tries to, kick a person when they're down. But Rachel Maddow, you can suck it, because you've been lying to the American people for so damn long, and those protests that you kept, telling the world about, oh, it's raising in numbers, it's raising in numbers. Yeah, it's raising in numbers because, USAID probably paid all those people to go ahead and show up for $500 a day. There was one lady in particular, one of the people that I follow on YouTube, she's been going to a lot of these protests, and one woman in particular has showed up at several of these. It's like she's traveling the United States, showing up at protests. Now, why would anybody in their right mind do that if they themselves don't even know what the hell it is their argument is? And this comes full circle with what's been going on with the Trump tariffs and the economics that's been happening over the past few weeks. Trump is absolutely on fire, my friends, on fire. And if you're not a person who follows this like I do on a regular basis, you won't see the effect that Trump is actually having on the national stage in America and in the real world. Everybody within the mainstream media has literally lost their mind. They are pleading to their economists and they're pleading to their so-called experts. Hey, we need you guys to come up with some, just conjure up some bullshit that we can tell the American people to make Trump look like he's an insane, deranged lunatic that's just destroying the world's economy because he's that oligarch, he's that mean old baddie, right? The problem with that is, my friends, it's not the reality. President Trump is doing everything that he said he was going to do back in 2015, 2016, when he first started on this whole journey. See, if everybody remembers correctly, we're going to just rewind the clock back just a little bit. Remember what happened during Trump's first administration? He was just about to start kicking things into high gear when what happened? Oh, that's right. The bioweapon just so happened to shit itself out of nowhere. Everybody within our own government and all the arms of government were telling Trump, you need to shut this down and do this and do that. And of course, what do? We kind of gather together under a crisis and we try to make the best decisions possible. But how was Trump to know that the people who were supposed to have his best interest and the interest of the American people were lying? How do we know that? Well, we found that out over the course of the last few years later, realizing that the whole bioweapon and the whole thing was just a way to shut the country down and try to move money away from the lower percentages into the higher percentage. It was just a way to steal more money for the American people and literally to shut down Trump's booming economy. Remember the summer of 2019? Remember how good things were? And yet you still have the media today trying to tell Trump and this administration what's going to happen if he makes the decisions he has. How about this, my friends? How about you in the mainstream media and those who keep showing up to these protests? Trump has been right. Trump has been right on majority of the decisions that he has made. Now, granted, you may not agree with his approach and you may not agree with his rhetoric, but even people like Kevin O'Leary, businessmen, guys that have been in this business, in this sector for years, are saying, look, you got to be tough. If you're going to actually put this country first and the citizens of this country first, the only way you can do that is by properly getting all of the nations around the table again and saying, you know what, we're not going to get screwed over by you guys anymore. We're just not going to do it. We've been running trade deficits in this country for decades, and every president before Donald Trump was supposed to be doing something about it, and what were they doing? Not a goddamn thing. Do you know why they weren't doing anything? Because they were getting kickbacks by looking the other way, by keeping the status quo. You ever wonder why all of these senators, representatives, presidents before Trump go in and they're not that, rich, but when they come out, they're like uber wealthy, off the chain. How did they get all this money? I tell you how. They stole it. They stole it all from you and me while we were sitting here hoping, praying that our leadership was going to do what they said they were going to do. And none of them have. They just give you all that happy talk, all of that, politicization of, platitudes of bullshit. We'll just take care of this next time. Oh, it's not us, it's the Democrats' fault. Oh, it's those Republicans. It's because of the bills that the Republicans. That's all these people do. They just keep blaming shit backwards and forwards, right? But what does President Trump do? He's not blaming anybody. He's just making decisions. He planned his work, and now he's working his plan. And everything is starting to fall in line, and the mainstream media and the deep state apparatus doesn't know what to do about this. For the first time in American history, I have never felt more confident in an administration that knows really what they are doing. Now, I'm not an economist. I'm not a person who understands exactly all the ins and outs of how this works, but I have common sense. And I can do deductive reasoning. And I know that when you keep spending $2 trillion and running $2 trillion deficits every single solitary year while you're getting screwed over on the trade issue by other countries where we're giving them all of our stuff and not getting any kickbacks. But when we buy their crap, we have to pay a huge premium. Screw that. No. The reason why Donald Trump did what he did with the tariffs is to get every country, first, number one, to realize we ain't getting screwed over anymore. But number two, to get them around the negotiation table again and saying, look, we're not going to be doing these trade deficits anymore. You either going to sit down with us and figure this all out, and we're going to come up to a reasonable, lucid agreement that doesn't screw the American people over. As a matter of fact, it benefits the American people. Or we're just going to run these tariffs, and you guys can either see yourself out of our premium market, or you can work in another way. But it's up to the other countries. What Trump is doing is leaving it into their hands, saying this is what we are doing. We are the premium market. The American people have busted their ass for decades and decades and decades. And you know what? They've been getting screwed over. So Trump has said, you know what? We're not doing that anymore. The reason why American people have been getting screwed over is because of these deals and because of these senators, representatives, and leadership looking the other way and keeping the status quo. Well, enough is enough, Trump has said. And now he's putting it on the other nations to try to get back around the negotiation table. Isn't that brilliant? Because before, they weren't going to talk. Why would they talk? They had the best deal possible. They had all the benefits and had reaped none of the consequences because the American people were sucking up all of that suffering every single day. We were the ones dealing with all the crap. Do you ever wonder why your city looks like shit, but go over to Beijing and Shanghai and look at those places? They look like brand new fortresses. Because all of the wealth from this country had been taken away from us and given to these people. The only way this country is ever going to get back to what it was from the beginning is to put people like Trump and ideas like Trump into place. He is the first president in my lifetime who's doing exactly what a president should be doing, looking out for their nation. And I'm just floored. I'm floored how the mainstream media is constantly bombarding, trying to get Neweggs, trying to get one of their degreed lunatics to come up on the screen and say, you know how bad Trump is. Trump is just a baddie. Get guys like Jim Cramer to go up there and say, yeah, what these guys are doing is completely off the chain, and we're losing our mind, and Trump is just completely off the wall, and he is. I just laugh. Because they have nothing to say anymore. Now, granted, I may not have all of the nomenclature of the understanding of how economics works, but neither do most Americans. But if you just look at things for the way that they have been over the past several decades, and you ask yourself, has my life gotten any better? Has my life gotten a little bit better, or is it getting worse? Every month, every week, getting harder and harder and harder. And if that's the case, well, for the first time now, you have somebody at the helm who recognized that and said, you know what, enough is enough. So this whole game that is being played right now, and here's the even best part, my friends, here's the greatest part. The Chinese Communist Party, or the CCP, is the only country of all of the ones that Trump had put that list out of all of the tariffs and all of how we're going to start to do business then. They're the only country flexing in the opposite direction. They're the only country trying to play games with President Trump. And as everybody knows, That man doesn't play games. He doesn't screw around. He says what he means what he says. He plans his work, he works his plan. All of the ideas that Trump has, he's 10 steps ahead of everybody. He's always thinking, well, if that doesn't work, we're going to do this. If that doesn't work, we're going to do this. He's got a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. And you can see it in the administration and how quickly they react. Once Xi Jinping flexed by trying to increase his percentage on his tariffs, Trump has an answer for it. You're not going to win. Let me be very, very clear to those potentially who could see this, any person who works for the Chinese Communist Party. You think you know what you're doing. You think, I know deep down you're having all those deep, deep thoughts. You're sitting around the table going, oh, we've done this. We figured out a way. We can move leverage. You're not going to do that to President Trump. I mean, you may think you're going to do something, but you're not. This is going to play out the way President Trump has put this economic system. It is going to benefit the American people in a way that you may not see today. But just like his first term, it's going to take time for these policies and procedures to be implemented. Start to have the system in and of itself start to make that turn, make that final adjustment. And once that adjustment happens, and now we're on a new trajectory, your life, my friends, and the lives of every American citizen, working class, is going to be the best you've ever had it. Now, I don't know about you, but I am over the top tired of listening to people like Rachel Maddow and all of these business executives, these people that supposedly went to Harvard and Chicago and to all of these great business schools. They're learned son of a bitches, right? They're better than you, right? Because they got all those degrees on the wall, right? I'm sick of those son of a bitches getting up every single day and just proclaiming propaganda. Nonstop propaganda, just like you, Rachel Maddow. We know who you work for. We know where your paycheck comes and we know where your script comes from. Did David Ignatius and the deep state give you that 20-block screen? Did they give you all the little pictures? Did they tell you about how many people were showing up at those protests? I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm sorry. The money that they're paying you at MSNBC to show up 5 nights a week to sell propaganda, you might as well worked in Hitler's army. You're so full of crap, Rachel. I hope at some point this comes full circle and your ass gets nailed for it. Because we have to find everything within this deep state apparatus, the mainstream media, and all of the players that keep trying to gunk up what President Trump is doing. We need to find what those people hold dear and we need to squeeze. Very similar to the way Trump squeezed on the CCP and Xi Jinping. America. War Room Posse, MAGA, everybody who's out there right now, who's dealing with a little bit of suffering, who is very confused at how the past 4 years and before have gone on. You've lost so much. You've lost lives to the bioweapon. You've lost finances. You've lost your home. You've lost your savings. Things have been looking pretty grim. I know because I'm in the same ballpark with you. But it's the first time in my life where I have never felt more confident in a person running this operation than I do now. President Trump is different. Different on so many different levels. Is he a perfect man? Of course not. There is no such thing. But every time in life, you weren't perfect when you were younger too. You made some bad decisions when you were a little bit younger. Everybody likes to try to go back to what Trump did 25, 30 years ago. He's not a saint. Nobody's ever said he was a saint. But what he is doing now, it's not what you used to do, it's what you're doing now that matters. The person you are now in this moment is who you are. Not what you used to be or what you think you are. It's what you truly are, what we're doing right now. And Donald J. Trump doesn't play games. He has said, and he has been very vocal, very articulate, very straightforward to the media, not sidestepping any questions like Joe Biden did. Look, the media has never had more access to a president than they do right now. And you're going to tell me, and you're going to still, mainstream media, you're going to still go out there every single day to try to find people to gin up this economic bullshit? Yeah, Things are going to be tough. Things are going to be different. But you need to be supporting that president because he's looking out for this nation. And I thought that's what we're all supposed to be doing. But you all like to play the game. You all like to talk shop, talk lies, and try to sell those lies to create more confusion so that people like myself have to spend majority of my time trying to undo all of the bullshit that you have created. Nope. I'm sorry, mainstream. I'm sorry, deep state. I'm sorry to all those who've been grifting off the system in Washington, D.C. All of those rich ignorants. That's right. There's a lot of rich people, like Hunter Biden's a good example. These rich, phony, ignorant children that have now become man-children who are running the country or are in these senior positions who are making these, those times are over. Those people are slowly going to disappear. And you know how those people disappear? You get involved. You start to pay attention. You start to communicate with the people around you. Because President Trump can't do this by himself. Yes, he's making all the decisions, but he's making all those decisions for you. He's stepping up to bat every single day for you. So what are you doing for the president? Are you getting on the phone? Are you calling your senators? Are you getting directly involved in your district and going down to these meetings and saying, you know what? No. Oh, they're going to have a protest in my district? Okay, we're going to find out what those people are talking about and we're going to go and set them straight. We're not going to create a problem, but we're going to talk to them and find out if they know why they're there. And you know what? Bring your video camera with you. Record asking some of these people at the protests, you know, what are you doing here? Try to have a dialogue with them. You will be surprised that most of them either don't know, don't care, and there are a small percentage of them that get extremely violent when you question what they're doing there. Isn't that interesting? I've always said that if you know what you're talking about and you believe in what you're saying, it rolls off the tongue very sweet, very easy for you. But when you don't have a clue what the hell you're talking about and you're living in a line of bullshit, well, all you have to ask is a couple questions to realize how full of shit you really are. No, I am done. The president of these United States, Donald J. Trump, has never been better. That's right. You're gonna see in due time a carving out on Mount Rushmore. We got a little spot off to the right-hand side next to Lincoln over there. We can add President Trump up there because in my opinion, Donald John Trump, the 45th, 46th, and 47th president of these United States, well, 46th, he was stolen, but is going to go down in history as the greatest American president we have ever seen. That's right, better than Washington, better than Lincoln. Because you have to think of the amount of problems this man, the amount of channels of information, the amount of avenues of attack one man has had to endure. And just look at the results he is still able to accomplish. Now, I would challenge anyone out there to try to go through the rigmarole and horseshit that this man had to do over these past 8+ years, from the mainstream media, from the people within that deep state apparatus, from the people within the intelligence service, all of the lawyers out of Washington, D.C., all of the corrupt politicians, all of the corrupt law firms. Just think about it. They tried to destroy this man, put him in prison for the rest of his life, put his family in prison, take his entire businesses away, try to bankrupt him, all because he was trying to help you, this country, and bring peace to the world. Now, the question everyone should be really asking, the Trump effect. Why does this Trump effect cause so much damage for this deep state? Why would anyone who claims to be an American be against what President Trump is doing? Again, you can argue the back and forth of the rhetoric of how Trump talks. I don't like the way he speaks and I don't like the way that he does things. Well, that's an opinion, and you're supposed to leave your emotions at the gate when we're making business decisions. You don't bring your emotions into a business, because emotions, we very well know, and you very well know, if you really think about it, when you're very emotional, you don't think properly. And that's what a lot of these people at these protests, I'm discovering, is they're not thinking properly because they are just completely absorbed with negative bullshit that they have been told by people like Rachel Maddow and those within the groups, all designed to fill their head with nonsense so that they can create this illusion that doesn't really exist. No, what you're seeing right now and what you're going to feel over the next 6 months to a year is the Trump effect in full force. And I promise you one thing. When this is all said and done, and Trump is on the roll, he's not wasting any time. We're less than 100 days in still, and look at the amount of effort and movement that this administration has done in just that short period of time. And we are only getting started. The battles are being won, my friends, but this war is far from over. As you can see what's happening with the CCP, some other countries, and many people within this deep state apparatus, which is still functioning in the many arms of this government. You can see what they're doing. But it doesn't matter, because in the end, all of these people are going to fold. I've always said, the fool who persists in his folly will become wise. That may be true, but it's not true amongst Democrats. It's not true amongst the CCP, because they are left with not too many outs left. The only move I see that Xi Jinping has left is to start a war, and that will not end well. Because he can't win on economics, especially when Trump is doing what he's doing by pulling all the manufacturing and all of the major industry back to the United States. Yeah, there may be a few moves for Xi Jinping, but all that's going to do is make him look like an animal on the world stage if he decides to play those games. Trust me, a world without the United States and a guy like Trump at the helm becomes a very dangerous and uncertain place. But as you can see, many countries are now coming around the table now because Trump means what he says what he means, and they know that they can trust him because he's going to do exactly what he said he's going to do. He's not going to promise something and then renege on that promise. So you can work with that. For many years, politicians have promised so much and then undid all those promises. That's not the Trump effect. What you're seeing is making history. And the history that you're seeing right now is going to change your life and the life of your family for the better. It's a great time to be alive, my friends, but I'm asking you to do me one small thing. Pay attention to the issues that matter. Don't get sucked up in all of the noise that people like Rachel Maddow and the mainstream, especially MSNBC, CNN, those two networks are just concentrated bullshit. You know that they work for another entity, because when you listen to what they say and then go and look at what the reality is, there's no comparison. No, Trump is firing on all cylinders. They don't know what to do. So all they're doing now is pretending to protest, pretending that the world is falling apart, pretending that all of the decisions that President Trump is making is just going to destroy everything, my friends. But yet the Dow Jones Industrial Average is going up. 70 countries after the tariffs went into play are all wanting to get a meeting and sit around the table and negotiate this stuff out. There's only the stubborn little children that are causing the problem. Little Xi Jinping and all of the people that he's paid off in our government, all of the people who have accepted bribes, their time is coming. And that's what I need the Justice Department, the FBI, they need to start investigating to what's really going on with our leadership. We need to get that rot, that gangrene, that festering, pussing sore out of that establishment. Because really, this country is never going to withstand the Trump effect if we don't remove the rot. Because once Trump is gone and things move on, there's always that potentiality of this sleeping giant that is embedded within that apparatus to come back and undo everything that has been done. You want to secure a nation, you want to secure your future, you want to secure the future for your children, get involved, pay attention. But above all, trust President Trump. I know. Everybody's like, Dave, I've been watching this for 25, 30 years. It's all bullshit. Trump is different. Take it from a person who has completely ripped the political arena apart over these past 20 years. For the first time. I said it back in 2016, and I'm saying it now. This man is the only person I've ever watched at this level in the political arena who's different. The Trump effect is real. The Trump effect is taking hold. And the Trump effect is going to bring us into a new golden age that's going to bring peace and prosperity to both this nation and the world. I hope you decide to be a part of that process. I'll see you all on the battlefield. Take care, my friends, and we'll talk with you soon. Peace.